To the tragic events in New Orleans, and we must caution you, some viewers may find certain video in this story graphic and disturbing. The French Quarter is one of the most popular places in the U.S. to ring in the new year, but in an instant, the party was replaced with terrified screams, the roar of a truck engine, and gunfire. Within minutes, at least 10 people were dead and around 35 others injured. Ivan Rodriguez is in New Orleans with more.
An earth cam in the French Quarter captured the moment overnight when officers raced toward an unspeakable act of violence that left witnesses stunned.
There were just bodies and the screams. I mean, you can't think about, unhear that.
Investigators say a rented Ford pickup plowed through revelers, leaving several people dead or injured on Canal and Bourbon Streets.
The disfigurement and the bodies strewn, something you can't unsee, you'll never forget.
The FBI says the attack appears to be an intentional act of terror.
After hitting the crowd, he exited the vehicle and fired upon local law enforcement. Law enforcement returned fire and the subject was pronounced deceased at the scene.
The FBI confirms that the deceased suspect had an ISIS flag at the time of the attack.
The subject has been identified as 42-year-old Samsoud Dim Jabbar, a U.S.-born citizen from Texas.
The FBI confirmed that improvised explosive devices were also found at the scene. Questions swirl around how he accessed busy streets on New Year's Eve in the first place.
These metal bollards literally come up from the ground to prevent a vehicle from gaining enough speed to cause the kind of mass damage that we saw this morning.
Those barricades were not up, period.
We are committed, no doubt, to uncovering all details surrounding this tragedy.
In New Orleans, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
Also on the attack, New Orleans officials say mechanical barricades that had been installed around Bourbon Street were not functioning and were being repaired ahead of the Super Bowl in February. They said other barriers were in place, but the driver drove around them onto the sidewalk. 2 law enforcement officers were injured during the gunfight with the suspect and transported to a local hospital where they were last reported in stable condition. 2 sources close to the case tell media that the suspect previously served in the U.S. military, but didn't give any further details. Now, the deadly attack has led to the postponement of a major sporting event in the city. The Sugar Bowl was scheduled to happen today, but will now be played tomorrow. It's college football playoff quarterfinal game between the Georgia Bulldogs and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish at Caesars Superdome. The attack in the French Quarter happened about 1 kilometer away from the stadium.